Number four, how do you see worship leaders walking in shepherding pastoral roles? What advice can you give them to pastor better? Um, this is huge. I think for all of us, we need to remember that the word pastor in our titles, if we have that in our titles, comes first. It's not worship pastor, it's pastor first. And I say that because the worship piece of it tells us what ministry responsibility we have and what our ministry obligation is. But the word pastor tells us that people are what we're about. And Jesus calls us to feed his sheep. Like he said to Peter, Jesus calls us to make disciples. And so it's so important to me as I'm talking to young worship leaders to remind them that at the end of the day, God is not going to ask them how their set list went or how the album did, but he's going to ask them, hey, did you feed my sheep? Did you make disciples? And it's very easy in our culture to look past the people and to sort of look beyond them to this more exciting ministry or this more dramatic thing, and to say, when I'm doing that, then that is a great work. And when I'm recording or when we're at a conference or when we're traveling, that's the great work. But that's not the great work. The great work is each individual person, and to recognize that each person is a great work is God's masterpiece, and to not look past them, but to really see them, to really learn their stories. I don't. I'm not on staff in the worship ministry capacity anymore. I'm one of the executive pastors now that oversees adult spiritual formation, and I teach and serve as the lead pastor for this Sunday night campus congregation that we have, and uh, uh, and part of that just has to do with the trajectory I've known that my life is on, has always been on. But I think another part of that is realizing, even when I was in worship ministry fully, that it's just not about the music of it, and that matters and that's important, and do a good job with that. But it's about the people, and to really see them as a great work, to really see them as God's masterpiece, and to take the time to know them. I think whether you're preaching or leading worship, you can look out at people and see a crowd and treat them like a crowd. And a crowd, you can work and use crowd dynamics and try to shape a crowd. We're not about a crowd. That's depersonalizing. That disrespects the dignity of individuals. Um, what we're called to do is to remember each individual person. And there's going to be times, I don't know every individual in our church, but I think the more time you make for that, the more opportunity you give yourself to look out in the congregation and say, hey, I know that person. I know their story. I know their situation. And that's who I'm leading in worship today.